What's up? This is Austin.
Aloy here.
Kenneth here.
Second here.
So I just have a question about NPS being used in the success of the agile implementation in an organization. So do you have any experience in your respective organization about using this metric as uh, yeah to determine whether your organization is successful or not in terms of agile implementation?
Wait, hang on. What are you guys using NPS for exactly?
For the success of Agile. So something like the people are being more motivated and yeah to that they are using the best practices and stuff.
Just in case I misunderstand, would you like to explain what is NPS? What does it mean?
Yeah, maybe we can explore first what's the meaning really of NPS or the Net Promoter Score.
Well,
So Austin, do you want
NPS
to, yes, go ahead, Austin.
NPS stands for Net Promoter Score, and I think it's used a lot in the banking and finance industries. One of the very common things you will see that is related to NPS is after you use a service or after you speak with a banker or use anything at the bank, then they'll always send you a survey with a couple of questions. But the one question in that survey that is very much tied to NPS is the question that sounds a bit like on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely would you recommend our services to your friends? So that's the NPS question, right? Then on a scale of 1 to 10, how people have been calculating the NPS score itself is broken down into a couple of components. First, they have to segregate the score. So on a scale rating of 1 to 10, score 1 to score 6 is defined as the detractor score. Score 7 and score 8 is
Mhm.
neutral. Score 9 and score 10 are promoters. Then they will count the number of people who are falling in the detractor region and the number of people falling in the promoter region, and they find the difference between those two.
Mm.
So that difference is effectively your net promoter score, which means if you have 100 people, 80 of them are in the neutral zone, 15 of them are in the promoter, and 5 are in the detractor. You take 15 minus 5, you
Mm.
get 10. Then that comes as a percentage of the total number of people that voted. Then that's your net promoter score.
Okay, I have a clarification. So between 1 to 6, they have no weightage for that. So a lot of people are voting 1 and only one 5 or 6. Then
Yeah,
they are just
there
the
is
same,
no. Yeah,
right?
a score of 1 and a score of 6 essentially mean the same thing as far as NPS specifically is concerned.
Mm.
Of course,
Okay.
when doing other statistical quantitative studies on the data that you have, then obviously a score 1 and a score 6 will mean very different depending on what you're studying, of course.
Mm. Yeah. So I have this conversation with some of my past few experience. They're using NPS, but when I ask, okay, what's really the population size that you're asking for when you use this NPS? Some will say, okay, just use it around 20. So that means the team plus their stakeholders, quite a small team amount. Then I really have a question. Really, is NPS quite effective enough to be used in a small amount of population? So what do you think is the best population size whenever you use this NPS?
I thought the question is should we even use NPS? Not sure what's the pros and cons of NPS.
Yeah,
I
for
mean,
me, okay. Uh, yeah,
uh,
go ahead, Austin,
at
please.
its core, right? I guess the thing should be the question should be more of, is NPS really a suitable metric to be used to judge implementation success? Like,
Mm.
what would the question even sound like? On a scale of 1 to 10, would you recommend this agile coach to other teams? That sounds a bit suspicious, doesn't it?
Yeah, is it? Yeah, it is. It is. But for me, when you use NPS, I think if your we can say customer base are quite a lot, then you really have developed a product. It's quite a little bit more mature. Let's say 2 years in the market. Then, for example, you have 1,000 customer, then probably yeah, you can use NPS. But within the team, within the organization, I don't think it's really useful. So that's my opinion about NPS.
Yeah, from the explanation, it sounds like um you have a value, but you don't really know what's like causing the low scores, or like what was making the detractors score so low. Yeah, so that's my uh, observation from the
I think
definition.
even more very I think on a very fundamental level, if the question is phrased as, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely would you recommend this agile coach to other teams? Then that doesn't really tie in with agile maturity, right? Because you can have an agile coach who's a very nice guy, a yes man, but it's not delivering results. Then would the team really be maturing in its agile mindset, agile ways? Not necessarily so. But would you recommend him to other teams? Yeah, for sure. I mean, he buys you a beer every week. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's considered something like very early indicators of KPI. Can consider the leading KPI, but NPS is more towards the lagging indicator. That means it's kind of lasting and it should be done at the end customer, not at the just the agile, but really the you can say the comparison between an organization uh, before implementing agile practices and after implementing these agile practices, and this is more geared towards their end customer. So that's how I view where NPS can be really used, but not just in the agile aspect, but really as a holistic approach of any business or organization. That is, are they still relevant to the market? What are the NPS with regards to when you compare it to their competitors, for example? So yeah, this is where I'm coming from. But yeah, I agree with you, Austin, that it should not be just with the agile coach or agile practices because it's not still translating into the profit margin or the revenue of an organization. Yeah. So that's my view around this NPS.
Hey,
But
so
I'm not
here's an
sure.
interesting
Yes.
here's an interesting thought. What if instead we move away from talking about uh or using NPS as a means of agile maturity and start to think about how different tools are useful in an organization? So for example, if a team has recently implemented a tool or a way of working recently, then one could say the agile coach would then poll the team on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely would you recommend this new tool or this new whatever to other teams to use? Would that make NPS a little bit more useful within an organization?
Uh, Depends. For me, it depends again on the number of the population size or the population. Yeah. How many people are you asking with? Because it might be too specific. And if it's just maybe around 30 people, then it's not good enough. But yeah, if your organization is big, then probably yes. If the population size is much more, then the second or the following question that I will ask, for example, for a specific tool is that, okay, how is it useful in your context, in your situation or in your scenario? Because each one of us might have a different different scenario. So this is I'm always skeptical about just using the NPS for the sake of it. But when I look at the population size, it's much more. I mean, not even going to 100 people.
Maybe adding on to what you shared, Kenneth, for me, I feel I don't see it purely being just population size, but also understanding context. So NPS may be as an initial, but I would say it should not be the only thing we should be using when getting this kind of feedback, because something that you mentioned, context, or maybe even where how relatable it is. Something that could potentially also be is demographics, example age.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree. Yeah.
or that yeah. So I think that will also play as critical factor in how that might actually result in NPS being maybe more skewed towards a certain number, because that
Yeah.
would definitely have an effect.
Yeah, demographics and your roles and responsibilities will take a play on this NPS. So it might be very useful to, for example, developers, but when you ask the team leader or managers, I don't even, I mean, some doesn't even use, for example, how useful is Jira. Some, I know a lot of managers, you can say business owners, doesn't even use Jira, doesn't even have any account for Jira. No. So yeah, I agree with you in that yeah, it's just yeah, demographics and your roles in your organization will take part of this NPS. And NPS cannot, yeah, it needs to be in tandem with who are your demographics when you do this survey, NPS. And I think NPS is much more like subjective rather than objective. And when you really analyze and translate it, it might give you a different meaning for this NPS. It's, yeah. But I might also agree that if you're a company, let's say 1,000 people, company, and then when you run this NPS because your uh, all of your development organization, I mean divisions are doing very well, then yeah, how can you say that yeah you're promoting your company so that your friends or your um, previous colleagues will join you? Then in that case, yeah, NPS is much more. Yeah, you can use that NPS numbers when you decide on when you want to transfer from one organization to another.
It's okay. So after hearing quite much about NPS, so far from either me, myself, Kenneth, right? Has anyone actually used anything similar to NPS within their professional or personal life so far?
I think I've been asked this NPS question before, but not really in like providing the questions to others. Yeah, I think I've seen this less and less frequently these days. Yeah, I'm not sure if like those agile health check, they're kind of are they kind of similar? Probably not, right? Yeah.
I've seen this in my banking apps. So when you say, okay, how do you navigate? Is it very good? And how are you likely to recommend our services to your friends and colleagues? So yeah, this is where I can get this
Yeah, I mean,
NPS.
I see it at the App Store as well, like App Store, Google Play kind of stuff, where after you use an application for a couple of minutes, they ask, "Oh, would you rate us? Would you recommend us?" Like, oh my god,
Yeah,
I would not rate and would not recommend. So stop asking me.
I rarely recommend as well. And if there's a problem, then yes, I will.
Yeah,
I
usually
would.
that's another problem. Usually people will give a bad rating because they encounter issues. Yeah, like Glassdoor. Yeah.
Not just even Glassdoor, even if you look at the general restaurants.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Huh? General restaurants?
Or they
Yeah, example,
incentive.
Google review,
Oh yeah.
or usually most of the reviews, usually some of them it's more on the negative side of things rather than positive.
Yeah.
Example, when you take a Grab, you don't bother voting a 5 because you take it so often. But only when something goes wrong, then you start showing all the like bad reviews, and it kind of does skewer things a fair bit, because it might seem like the person is not so good, but actually maybe the person had a lot of good reviews prior, but no one bothered because it's expected to be good.
Yeah, I mean that's also
Mm.
human nature. Uh, psychology, psychologically as humans, we tend to remember the bad things that happen to us much more vividly than the good things that happen to us, or the neutral things that happen to us. So I think that could be one reason why the bad reviews are much more starkingly obvious and well worded on review pages.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so anyway, yeah, NPS is not really useful for at the team level, or this is, I think, my conclusion. Is that it's not useful if you have a very less um, sample size, and also it's not really useful if it's just like, okay, would you recommend this agile practice or this coach or something? So, but I think there's still a place in NPS, but it's just not for the metrics in agility or your health in or how you are implementing agility in your organization. Would you agree with me? Or
Yes.
any
Yeah,
other thoughts about that?
I also like to add on that I think sometimes the data have to come with some information and context as well. So it's not just that data alone. Yeah.
Yeah, agree. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that's it for our session today, and hope to see you on our next session. Thank you for your time,
bye bye
and
everyone.
bye
Bye.
everyone. See you.
Bye.